What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today, we have to head back over to New Venezuela, formerly known as New York City, because I want to speak on the mayoral hopeful, once again, the DNC lunatic socialist known as Zohran Mamdani. Why do I want to speak on him today? I want to address two things. I want to address the first thing, and I'm chuckling because I did find this humorous, that Trump said that he would have Mamdani arrested. We're going to explain in a moment why he said he would have Mamdani arrested, because after making that statement, Mamdani went on Twitter, now known as X, and put out a whole victim statement on X. So we're going to go through that. But most importantly, outside of that, what I want to address is one of his key policy points that he's running on as it pertains to city-run grocery stores. As we all know, he is a socialist / communist. He loves using lingo such as seizing the means of production. And in seizing the means of production, what he's looking to do, one of his many lunatic schemes, is that he wants to start government-ran grocery stores. But the problem with that is that the money isn't there to do it. He literally has failed without even being elected yet. Amazing. His key policy point is already down the drain. And I want to take a moment to unpack and address that too, because it's something that Eric Adams highlighted via a post, a few articles I went through to substantiate what he posted. And yeah, like I said, Mamdani already failed and he hasn't even been elected. Amazing. That's truly amazing. But first, let's get into this here. Why did Trump say he was going to have Mamdani arrested? Well, very simple. For the same reason that pretty much all DNC lunatics find themselves in the crosshairs of Trump these days, particularly surrounding mass deportation. He's speaking about obstruction. He's talking about stopping ICE agents from carrying out arrest and deportation. That is obstruction of justice, to which you can be arrested for that. Trump is not bullying this man or trying to intimidate him. He's simply informing him on what the law is, and you can't do what you say that you want to do. Let's get into this clip here so you can hear straight from the horse's mouth as it pertains to Mamdani and how he said out of his own mouth, I'm going to stop ICE agents from deporting, immigrants, illegal immigrants, that is. Correction, right? So let's get into this clip here first.
We have won because New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford. A city where they can do more than just struggle. And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors, and to govern our city as a model for the Democratic Party.
So once again, that's literally obstruction. It's obstruction. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And I want to get into now what Trump's response was to that. So now let's pull up Trump's response next.
President, Mr. President, your beloved New York City, may well be led by a communist soon, Zohran Mamdani, who in his nomination speech said he will defy ICE and will not allow ICE to arrest criminal aliens in New York City. Your message to communist Zohran Mamdani?
Well, then we'll have to arrest him. Look, we don't need a communist in this country, but if we have one, I'm going to be watching over him very carefully on behalf of the nation. We're going to be watching that very carefully, and a lot of people are saying he's here illegally. He's, we're going to look at everything, and ideally, he's going to turn out to be much less than a communist. But right now, he's a communist. That's not a socialist. I've always said we will not have socialism in this country. In the speeches, I said, well, what? They skipped socialism, and you got a lot of them like that. And you see AOC, she's out there with her, bad IQ. She's out there ranting and.
I need to clip that up. Eventually, soon in the relatively near future, I'm going to get back to doing live streams on this channel, and that's definitely going to be a drop, right? A soundbite. I think the term I'm looking for is we have AOC with her bad IQ. I'm sorry. Let's let it play.
He's going to turn out to be much less than a communist, but right now he's a communist. That's not a socialist. I've always said we will not have socialism in this country. In the speeches, I said, well, what? They skipped socialism, and you got a lot of them like that. And you see AOC, she's out there with her, bad IQ. She's out there ranting and raving about how wonderful he is. And look, so far he's winning. He still has a race to win, but so far he's winning, and he has an advantage as a Democrat in New York City. I was there a long time ago, and it was a long time since a Republican won the city. Yeah, but you would think that a Republican would be able to win. Or you have a good independent running, Mayor Adams, who's a very good person. I helped him out a little bit. He had a problem, and he was unfairly hurt over this question. He made a statement to the effect that this is terrible. New York City can't have all these immigrants come in. And like he was indicted the following day. And I said, that was a phony indictment. That it was a phony indictment. That was a Biden indictment. I said, don't feel bad. I got indicted 5 times every time you opened your mouth. That was a bad group. That was a very dangerous group, I will tell you. These were not nice people. That was the only thing they could do. They had no policy. They had no skill. They had no anything. But they were very good at that. They were vicious, vicious, horrible people. Thank you very much.
So now what I want to do is let's get into Mamdani's victim statement here on X. Let me pull this down and let's pull this up right now. All right. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more and we're going to read this together. So allow me to zoom in on Mamdani's victim statement and we'll go through this. Okay, so it reads as such, right? The president of the United States just threatened to have me arrested, stripped of my citizenship, and put in a detention camp and deported. Did you hear all that and what we just listened to? Maybe I missed it. Sometimes when I'm listening to these videos, as I'm doing the videos, I tend to kind of drift off a little bit. I probably shouldn't admit that, but I don't think I heard him say all of that. He didn't say I was going to strip you of your citizenship, put you in a detention camp and deport you. He just said that, you'd be arrested for obstruction of justice. Putting a lot of extra sauce on it, Mamdani, a lot of extra sauce on it. But anyways, the victim statement goes on to read, not because I have broken any law, but because I will refuse to let ICE terrorize our city. That's called obstruction. His statements don't just represent an attack on our democracy, but an attempt to send a message to every New Yorker who refuses to hide in the shadows. If you speak up, they will come for you. In all bold letters, we will not accept this intimidation. Now, here's where Mamdani gets salty about Trump, endorsing Eric Adams. Essentially, if we're being, he endorsed him, right? He's a little salty about that. Mamdani writes that Trump included praise for Eric Adams in his authoritarian threat is unsurprising, but highlights the urgency of bringing an end to the mayor's time in City Hall. At the very moment when MAGA Republicans are attempting to destroy the social safety net, kick millions of New Yorkers off of health care, and enrich their billionaire donors at the expense of working families, it's a scandal that Eric Adams echoes this president's division, distraction, and hate. Voters will resoundingly reject it in November. And that was his victim statement. Now, I want to take a moment to pivot to what Eric Adams had to say, because he didn't respond to Zohran directly, but he did speak to what Trump had to say as it pertains to obstruction of justice and simply following the law. So I want to pivot to Eric Adams next, and then we're going to get into the little expose, you can say, that Eric Adams engaged in concerning Mamdani's already failed plan to start city-ran grocery stores across the country with money the city doesn't seem to have. So let's get into what Eric Adams had to say in response to all of this next.
I was wondering if you could address some of these comments that the president made earlier this morning. He was talking about Zohran Mamdani saying that we'll have to arrest him if he interferes with ICE. And he also talked about you and saying that you were.
If he interferes with ICE,
yeah.
Arrest Mamdani.
If he interviews with ICE.
Interferes.
Interferes.
And yeah, if he interferes with ICE, he'll have to be arrested. Just wondering, where do you stand on that? And he also talked about how you were a good independent option, and he obviously supported you. So where do you stand on both of those?
Well, no one should. I've said this over and over again, and I'm going to continue to say it until it resonates and people may appreciate it in a period of reflection. ICE is a federal law enforcement agency. It is not some illegal entity. This administration will collaborate with our federal agencies when it comes to criminal behavior. We're not going to collaborate if it comes down to civil enforcement. The law doesn't allow us to do that. And anyone that is an elected or not should never interfere with federal authorities carrying out their function. Because if someone doesn't like ICE, what happens if you don't like the IRS? What happens if you don't like the environmental protection? You just can't pick and choose. And, you know, my pet peeve is disorder. I don't feel comfortable around disorder. You know, maybe it's my blind side that I just don't like disorder. We can't have systems of disorder. And so I will encourage anyone not to interfere with federal authorities legally carrying out their actions. And so the president makes his determination what he's going to do. I'm not a federal elected official. I keep saying that over and over again. I'm a city elected official. I'm the mayor of the greatest city on the globe, and that's New York City. And I have enough things to improve on in this city that I'm doing than to talk about what they're doing on the federal level. We got federal authorities. Federal authorities need to do their job.
I mean, sounds like common sense to me. It sounds like common sense to me. Trust me when I tell you, I can go on and on with Zohran Mamdani and all of his anti-ICE statements, you know, referring to them as they all do, masked men that are terrorizing the city in unmarked cars, kidnapping people, and all of this foolishness. But at the end of the day, you know, what Eric Adams saying is right. You know, at the end of the day, these are federal law enforcement agents. They're not doing anything illegal. And if you stand in the way and you find yourself arrested, that's on you. But here's the important part that I really want to focus on next. I want to go into this tweet or X post. I always still get it confused, you know. But I want to go into this post by Eric Adams in which he linked an article thoroughly exposing Mamdani concerning his city-ran grocery stores, right? So let me zoom in on this just a little bit and let's read what Eric Adams posted here. Okay, Eric Adams stated, Zohran Mamdani's plan for government-run grocery stores is built on $140 million in subsidies that don't exist. He misread a website. This isn't just sloppy, it's reckless. And I'll add unintelligent, right? Now let's get into this article that breaks this down that Eric Adams has put out there for everyone to read. And I'm glad to see that, you know, this post that he put up got 1.2 million views. Hopefully, you know, this article got 1.2 million readers on it. And hopefully this video gets 1.2 million views as well to get this information out here, right? Because look at these articles that were written that exposed this. You see this from the Washington Examiner. Mamdani's government grocery stores plan is based on an accounting error. From the New York Post, as you can see here, Socialist Zohran Mamdani wants to pay for government grocery stores with money that doesn't exist. So now let's really break this all down. What I have right here is just a summary to keep everything all succinct and straight to the point concerning why Mamdani's plans for city-ran grocery stores has already failed and he hasn't even been elected yet, right? So let's get into this right now. Number one, Mamdani's funding claim is flawed. Zohran Mamdani, New York City mayoral nominee, proposes launching 5 city-owned grocery stores, 1 per borough, to reduce food prices. He plans to fund them by redirecting, in quotes, by redirecting $140 million in subsidies that he says the city currently gives to private supermarkets under the City Fresh program. In reality, the $140 million figure refers to private grocery investment over 12 years. Not so bright, are you, Mamdani? Not city spending. The city has only foregone about $30 million in tax revenue via the program, roughly $3.3 million per year. Number two, financial implications and misinterpretation. Mamdani asserts the pilot would cost $60 million. half of the claimed $140 million subsidy pool. But using the actual figures, the city has never spent that amount, meaning his plan is built on money that does not exist. Now, as we round things out, let's just get straight to the facts of it all. He said New York City could redirect $140 million in subsidies from the City Fresh program, a city initiative to increase access to fresh food in underserved areas, to fund 5 government-owned grocery stores. The actual facts, the $140 million figure refers to private investment generated by the program, not taxpayer subsidies or city expenditures. I'm going to read that one more time for the DNC lunatics in the back that support this. The $140 million figure refers to private investment generated by the program, not taxpayer subsidies or city expenditures. The actual city spending is only about $3.3 million a year in foregone tax revenue, totaling around $30 million over the 12 years of the program. Therefore, the city does not control $140 million that can be redirected. The money doesn't exist. It's not there. Mamdani's proposal is based on a fundamental accounting error, confusing private investment with public money. This guy, I'm going to be nice, is not too bright. What did Trump say? Mamdani has a very bad IQ. Very bad IQ. And we'll leave that there. And with all that being said, you know, New York City, it's your funeral, man. If you want to vote this guy in, it's your funeral. And that does it for today's news. So please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And also, please do not forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. And to the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.